Welcome everybody from Beard Nation. My name is DanCBearded. My subscribers call me the trusted teacher, and today I'm going to tackle the idea of the differences, pros and cons between small batch beard companies and big box or big brand beard companies out there. There's good and bad for both. I'm going to talk about some things that may be controversial, but they are facts. They're experiences, and it's what I think. So if you want to hear more about what I think about both sides of this spectrum, please stay tuned. First off, I hope you guys are digging my shirt that Sam made up for me for Disney. We are going on our family Disney trip the last week of March, and we will have a bearded meetup that week. I believe it's going to be on the Wednesday. I'll get some information out there once we have it verified. But if you're near Orlando or you want to make a trip down to Disney and join all these bearded buddies and some companies out there, just let me know. But unwanted or unwarranted hate. I want to start by addressing this in kind of two-part for this idea of our intrinsic and natural hate of big companies, especially in this community. Everybody wants to say small batch, boo, throw shade at the big guys. Well, there's two reasons I think that explains that, and really why it is unwarranted and we should not have that hate. The first one is almost all of these successful companies started somewhere small. Very few companies get some huge amount of money and they just go full in right away with daddy's bank account. Most of these started very small, and some of them, for whatever reasons, we choose to hate. Some, like Honest Amish and Mountaineer, we embrace. They got in Walmart. That's amazing. We love them. But others like Beard Brand and even Scotch Porter, a lot of times there's a ton of hate there because they made it. We don't need to do that. And the theory that I want to explain that I believe sums this up, and it goes for many areas of life, is called the radio theory. And that theory was created by a wise man, me. And what I mean by the radio theory, because I see this in my channel as well as I get to grow and have more success. The radio theory is when somebody hears a song, they fall in love with that song, and it's their song. No one else knows about it, so it's the coolest song in the world. And then as soon as it gets to the radio and everybody else has heard that same exact song, it's no longer cool to them. They hate that song. It's overplayed. It's overrated. All these other things. The song is exactly the same. The only thing that has changed is there are more ears hearing that song. As channels on YouTube get bigger, we see a lot of that. I experience a lot of that. Oh, I loved it back in the day, but man, you've changed. Nothing's changed. We've just gotten bigger and there's been more eyes. And then with companies, it's the same thing. Just because they aren't that perfect little company that they knew, now other people like it as well. It's not as cool. And I don't think that's the way we should go about this. People need to stop being jealous and getting their feelings hurt because companies are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Doesn't mean they change when they get bigger. Just because Honest Amish got into Walmart doesn't mean they changed. Just because Beard Brand is becoming highly successful doesn't mean they changed. So think about that. The song on the radio is the same exact song that you liked when nobody else knew about it. Small batch. I'm going to cover the pros and cons of these small batch companies that we know and love. First one that hits home with me and is to my heart is small batch companies are usually better about getting involved in our community. You get to know them. They get involved. They do giveaways. They support. They do charities. They do these things that we see on a daily basis and in live streams and on videos. And for me, that is so important. It adds to this community in a great way. Another thing that's a big pro with these small batch companies, you see directly where your money is going. Most of the time it is one family that is doing the operations, and all of that money you are spending on their products is going to that family. And to kind of piggyback on that, usually there's a lot of love that is going into your products. When you purchase something from a small batch company, you know your name is attached to that product. They see your name, they make the product, they package it, and they send it out to you personally. A lot of times that comes with a follow-up checkup. Hey, how did you like the products? And again, to piggyback one more time off of Pro, normally the customer service is phenomenal with these companies because you're likely talking to the CEO, the founder, the owner, the person that is making the product, the person that is sending the product, and they're going to make it right away. That is awesome. A lot of these small batch companies really take pride in all natural and organic ingredients, which we know can be beneficial and great. Now, on the other side of that, though, there's a lot less regulation or even standards that they have to follow within a corporate industry or a corporate ladder. And so one of the things is you have to base everything off of trust with those small batch companies. A lot of those small batch companies are not holding the same rigor as some of the top big box or big companies with their standards. They may not know where they're getting their products from. They may be ordering their essential and carrier oils online and not knowing the supplier, not knowing how long it's been sitting there. I was in Lowe's the other day, we're looking at new carpet and looking at flooring, and I passed by an end aisle and it has essential oil box, half off, discounted. And it ran through my head, man, what would stop somebody from, we see it all the time, starting up a new little small batch company, and they saw some essential oils in Lowe's and they're gonna make beard products out of that. You would never know. I would never know. It's much better to know your supplier, and some small batch companies do. They make that a sign of pride and something that they stand for, but some of them don't, and there's literally no way for you to know the difference, whether you ask, and then you have to assume that that's an honest answer. There's no real backing there. Because literally any of you watching right now could start your own company tomorrow. And in that, you're gonna get a cornucopia of people, especially in that small batch world. So that is a gamble. There are some amazing things about small batch, but there are also some things that you gotta scratch your head about and maybe dig a little bit deeper and look into. Pros and cons. Big box companies, big batch companies. There are pros and cons to these big companies. First pro is that idea that it is a big batch company. The opposite of small batch is big batch. When you were buying a product from these big companies, it was likely made in a professional lab with professional machinery in large quantities. That is the opposite. In small batch, if you're buying a product from a lot of these small batch companies, it was likely made in someone's kitchen in their house. I'm not knocking that at all. That's just a fact. Not all of them. Some of these small batch companies are getting bigger and have some legit machinery, but most of them, they are making it in their kitchen, using their stove that they cooked their spaghetti on the night before. But these big companies have professional labs. They go through health standards and health testing to make sure everything is clean and working properly. That is a difference there. There also comes consistency with those bigger batches. With small batches, you're gonna have some inconsistencies and some different variants from one batch to the next. And some of you appreciate that. Some of you love that, and that's up to you. But with these big box or these big companies, if you buy a bottle of beard oil and 6 months later you wanna buy the same one, the scent is going to be the same. The feel is going to be the same because they have that consistency and they have the machinery there. That is big. Another thing is these companies are going to be professional. You're never going to get an immature email from Beard Brand or a big company. You're never going to have an immature owner that's going to go on a rant on an Instagram live or on a YouTube comment section because they're bigger than that. And there is value in that when we see some of these landmines of companies out there. But on the flip side of that, their customer service may not be as fast. Why? When you're talking to small batch, you're talking to the owner. When you're talking to these big companies, you're talking to an employee. So there could be a little bit difference there, even though some of these companies have extensive background for having great customer service. Not always though. Sometimes we see those split hairs there. And with those big box retailers, a lot of times the price is more. Why? Because they're not just paying for the products like the small batch companies, they're paying for their building rent, the electricity, paying their employees. You are covering the overhead, but that could be worth it to you. So there again is a lot of pros and cons from both sides of this spectrum here, small batch versus big batch. Stay tuned for the conclusion. I'm going to kind of wrap it all up and end with a question for you guys. Conclusion. Small batch versus big batch. My final thoughts, there's room for all of us on top of this mountain. There's no reason that a small batch company that is amazing cannot thrive and grow equally with a large scale company that has already made it. We don't need to hate on these big companies because they have been successful. Congratulations, that is amazing. I don't like to hate on people because of their success. Psychologists for years have had theories about how people like to diminish the accomplishments of others to make themselves feel better. When you are not doing something at a level that somebody else is, you have to kind of register that in your mind somehow and make up a reason of why they are there and you are not. We don't need to see that. There is a niche, there is a market for everyone, and I love having balance. There are some of my favorite products that are big batch that I've never spoken to the owner. I've never spoken to an employee. I've never even talked to their company at all. But there are some of my absolute favorite small batch companies that I talk to on an everyday basis, every hour basis. I can appreciate the product either way. I would love to have interactions with all of these owners. I would love for all these owners to be amazing, professional, and mature, but that doesn't have to happen. That's not the world we live in, and that's okay. So I see value in both of them, and I just pick and choose the best ones from both sides. I don't need to be on team small batch or team large company big batch. I can enjoy them both, and I hope that's the same for you guys. So the question I'm going to leave you with is not which one do you prefer, because I don't think that's fair and I don't think that's a good conversation to have. The question I'm going to leave for you is there a pro from either side that I did not cover that you can think of? I don't want to hear about the cons right now. I laid them out there in a mature, professional way. I just want to hear about the pros. Is there something from this small batch side that you love and you enjoy? Is there something from this large batch, bigger scale company that you love and enjoy? One that just popped in mind for the large scale ones, I can go to Walmart right now and pick up some Honest Amish for a cheap price. Right now, no waiting. Small batch, I have to wait. I can also check on my order a lot easier and see what's going into it and have communication on the small batch right now. But with the big batch, I likely have to wait. So there's tons and tons of pros out there. Add on to my list, please. Large scale, small scale, what is something that is good that I did not cover? So I hope this cleared everything up and helped the positivity with this debate and this argument here, because there's no reason for negatives. It is what it is. Let's embrace it. There's room for everybody. So thank you guys. I look forward to hearing those positive comments there. DanCBearded, the trusted teacher. Class is over. Enjoy the rest of your evening.